Warning, the following review contains spoilers. Viewer discretion is advised. Deus Ex Mankind Divided is a game that got hamstrung by its publisher's lack of business discretion. Perhaps they're still paying for what they tried to pull off with that pre-order bonus fiasco, but at least they had the mind to back off it. The game they released is pretty solid, albeit with the same Deus Ex-y sort of flaws. Set 2 years after the events of Human Revolution, which are summarized in a convenient cinematic you can skip over if you can't be bothered, Deus Ex Mankind Divided puts Adam Jensen in Prague, the capital city of the Czech Republic, where the augmentation apartheid is said to be the hottest. The AUG incident got naturals, unaugmented people, really scared of Hansers, and augmentations are taboo now. Seraph Industries went bust, augmented people are now seen as subhuman, and the Illuminati are now making their move with false flag operations and other such unsavory deeds. The Juggernaut Collective, headed by an anonymous hacker called Janus, has two of their best agents in Prague on the case, Alejandra Vega and Adam Jensen. The latter happens to be working for Interpol Task Force 29 as an operative while also spying on them. Did you catch all that? That's not even the half of it, and that's the biggest problem with this game. Unless you've played the previous Deus Ex games or at least read through the Deus Ex wiki, you'll be lost. After an intro mission involving an arms deal gone wrong in abandoned Dubai, Jensen gets caught in a train station bombing, which fries his AUGs. You then get to watch him shower. Is his, also augmented? It's in medias res in a bad way. I personally don't mind it because I grew up playing the first two Deus Ex games and really liked Human Revolution. Obvious if you go to avoiderdragon.com. I recognize a lot of the recurring characters here. They are the younger versions of those in the original Deus Ex, including Bob Page and my man Joe Manderley. Look at him, so fresh-faced, mustache still black and all. I think these new characters aren't as memorable. I can't put my finger on it, but David Saraf was a cooler boss than Jim Miller. Frank Pritchard was more obnoxious than Duncan McCready. Farida Malik was a cooler pilot than Alias Chicane. Then again, I've had to save Farida's life in the previous game after all. Also, she happens to have a lot of similarities with Fariha Amari, aka Farah from Overwatch. Come on, think about it. Both are of Middle Eastern descent, both fly, both are employed by private companies, both are fan favorites, both have similar sounding names. Fariha, Farida, just saying. Visuals have been mostly improved. There's a lot less of that black and gold in Mankind Divided, but the UI is cleaner and more functional, at least in the PC version. There are a lot more hotkeys, so tasks like hacking are a lot easier. Almost everything looks and feels less clunky. Except for the shop UI. Somehow that kinda got worse. You can't buy or sell without a prompt annoying you, and you still have to buy multiple units of the same item one by one. The shop UI in Human Revolution was also clunky, but trading was quicker once you got the hang of it. In Mankind Divided, there's an extra prompt to impede you. They had the right idea with most of the changes here, but then removed the only thing that made the shop UI in Human Revolution tolerable. And what's with all this green? Not to mention that even when you buy something, the shopkeeper would just sometimes blow you off anyway for wasting his time, as if you didn't buy anything at all.
Get out of here then.
What? I already gave you my credits, you greedy shithead! But at least with the additional hotkeys and tweaks, this game is more seamless to play. Little things like hotkeys and hacking, being able to exit cover mode with a movement key, having an actual mini-map instead of just radar on your HUD, how tooltips are better positioned on screen, and so on. Finishing this game, then going back to Human Revolution, hammers home just how much improvement in the user experience Eidos Montreal had put in Mankind Divided. You also get options to remove HUD elements on screen, so you can do away with all of this stuff here for a more immersive experience, just like in Thief 2014. Now, while I would indeed turn off all of the HUD elements in Thief, I'm a cyborg super soldier here in this game, so I'll just keep all of the HUD here. Thank you very much. The Deus Ex gameplay is still intact. Lethal or non-lethal, stealth or overt, and AUGs. There are new ones, like Tesla launchers, nanoblades, and the Titan AUG, which is basically a neodymium armor. Of course, that energy bar on the bottom is what balances it all out. Yes, you still need battery power to punch someone in the face. But this time, you don't get to charge up by eating candy bars anymore, you just get biocells. Well, saves Jensen from diabetes, I guess. His pancreas must have needed augmentation too after the previous game. For the most part, it still has its Deus Exiness, that sort of old school RPG feel despite the shiny exterior. You can just loot and plunder when they just mind their own business, even if you're just taking their stuff right from under their noses. Mind you, some places do have their own automated security systems, so you might be surprised that the cops actually barge in when you're freeloading and punch you full of holes. I don't know exactly why, but I actually get a kick out of this kind of adherence to video game logic. I guess it's a good thing as it gives players license to screw around, although some people might find it to be an immersion breaker. Then again, it's not like you can hack a keypad and break into something if the cops are actually watching. The foundation of the game's strength is what made the original Deus Ex good: level design. Mankind Divided has only one hub, Prague. You do visit 4 other places, but one is more of a mini hub and the other 3 are just levels. With only one major hub to focus the level design on, Prague feels more of a city than Detroit and Hengsha did. It's a sandbox with labyrinths within labyrinths and stories within stories. There are some pretty good side missions and decent environmental storytelling that expand on the premise of an augmented apartheid. Golem City in particular, the aforementioned mini-hub, illustrates this with police brutality and segregated living conditions in a Kowloon walled city-inspired ghetto. Going into each room and looking at all the emails and other clues digs deeper into how bad AUGs have been getting it in this story, after the events of Human Revolution. Mind you, most games that supposedly tackle real-world social issues makes me scratch my head and should be taken with a grain of salt, since they tend to be clunky and ham-fisted for the most part. The Deus Ex franchise was built on ideas of the Illuminati and a new world order, tinfoil hat stuff that makes up an Alex Jones wet dream.
This person right here! Damn it! She needs to be in prison now! This shark's evil! No! No! Yeah! Get away from me, racist! She's God!
But this game gets pretty close at portraying prejudice and dissent in a semi-realistic manner, not far from what's been going on in Europe as of this recording. Don't know how much it matches with the prejudice against a particular major religion and culture, you know the one, but this does raise some fairly legitimate questions. Many AUGs chose to have their mechanical enhancements, so they may deserve what has happened to them. But there are many others who had no choice, mostly those who got them due to their work, including Jensen. The AUG incident really put a damper on things, and Prague is in the thick of all the discrimination and unrest. Was Mankind Divided effective in creating that atmosphere? Perhaps. The frequent security checks, the use of slurs, the martial law, the AUG ghetto, the news, the anti-news, the graffiti, and everything else. In a way, yeah, it's as good as Deus Ex can get it. But then again, you're the one guy who doesn't ever need neuropazine to curtail implant rejection, so it's not like you feel exactly what they feel. With all the enemies you have to deal with here, at least there's a lot less of those forced boss fights like in Human Revolution. Those were no problem for lethal playthroughs, but a bitch for non-lethal. While it's just a matter of either getting the Typhoon AUG or picking up a gun just before you enter the rooms for the boss fights, they were still quite a drag. They were fixed in the director's cut, sort of, by adding stealth and hacking options in them. But here, it seems like they've learned from that. In Mankind Divided, there's only one, the last one, and you can actually put him to sleep, so you can truly have an all non-lethal playthrough, like I did, without being punished for it. While it's still the harder way to play the game, at least non-lethal is no longer the wrong way to play the game. The stun gun also looks like a real gun now, so yeah, that's nice. Branching paths in the story are courtesy of choices you make in missions, like deciding on one objective over another, going the extra mile by accomplishing an optional objective, choosing to do an all-lethal or non-lethal, or so on. At times you still get a prompt that makes you choose between two courses of action, but at least they don't just shoehorn you into just one path once you choose. You can actually do both as long as you're quick enough. Well, some of the time anyway. All of that affects the ending. There are multiple endings, as well as whatever else happens that resulted from your other actions during your playthrough, mostly from finishing side missions. The side missions actually matter and aren't just sources of extra experience points and rewards. In Human Revolution, all that happens in the end is that Pangaea blows up, Jensen gets fished out of the water sometime, and had some experimental AUGs stuck in him while he was still in a coma. You then learn about that years later in Mankind Divided. Well, at least they had the courtesy to fill in those blanks, but you needed to have played Human Revolution to understand the implications. But here, you get a rundown of what happened after everything you did in the game. Kinda like old school Fallout. That makes the conclusion to this game more satisfying. Also, you can start New Game Plus and try out the stuff you didn't do in your first playthrough and see what happens. New Game Plus certainly adds replay value and gives you leeway to screw around even more by letting you keep whatever progress you acquired thus far. You keep your items, credits, and AUGs and get put back in the start of the game. You can't play I Never Asked for This difficulty that's unlocked after finishing the game for the first time, that would be kinda unfair, but you can try it out in Give Me Deus Ex difficulty if you didn't play that the first time. Human Revolution Director's Cut also had New Game Plus, but only with previously acquired augmentations. Previously acquired items weren't included for the sake of game balance, which was silly because, well, fully upgraded AUGs made the game easy anyway, so that just came off as a half-assed New Game Plus mode. In Mankind Divided, you keep everything. You can then go on to upgrade all of your weapons and augmentations and become an augmented god amongst men.
I want you to want to be an augmented god among men.
Then there's the crafting. But the crafting here wouldn't exactly put Fallout 4 to shame. You can collect crafting parts here and maybe craft something later when you really need it. It's half-assed, but I guess the good thing about it is you can choose to make more of whatever you need later on. Mostly biocells. And no, you will never have enough biocells in this game. Never. Those AUGs just suck up juice way too fast. Like iPhones. Or maybe like the Samsung Galaxy S7 when you overload your AUGs before you get them fixed. On the other hand, the graphics don't look like morning piss anymore. I had a love-hate relationship with the golden tint in Human Revolution. It gave a unique ambiance to the game, but it also looked like piss. I liked the yellow in the interface, obviously, but not in the graphics. My dreams were in golden tint for like a month or something after playing Human Revolution for the first time. But with that gone, is there actually a visual theme for Mankind Divided? It looks clean and all, but does it actually have character? Prague does look and feel alright in this game, but it's not exactly memorable. All the people speaking in Czech do help with the atmosphere, as well as the Czech signage. But aside from that, this art direction is just meh. But perhaps my biggest complaint with this game is the lack of the one thing that made Human Revolution unique: the safety dance. It's nowhere near as prominent as it was because of the cover mode camera here, and it's really pissing me off. Thanks, IDOS Montreal. Despite being a good game overall, well, I definitely enjoyed it. It may not have gotten as good of a reception as it could have due to Square Enix's efforts to milk it. The ill-advised pre-order bonuses that got scrapped, the microtransactions, and all the corner cutting, which are evident when you're playing this game, has hamstrung it pretty much. Steam reviews do indeed have to be taken with a grain of salt, but you can't deny that these people are making some sense with their gripes. The gameplay has indeed been improved, but it kind of lost its character. Human Revolution was flawed and janky, but it still left a mark on me. But Mankind Divided? Well, I definitely play it more due to New Game Plus, but I don't find it as gripping either. From the visuals, story, characters, and music, Human Revolution was just a lot more distinct. Nothing beats Icarus, for instance. Now that is a great title track. And apparently, Human Revolution had a stronger debut. Can't say I blame gamers for that, but Mankind Divided isn't doing too badly. Then again, Square Enix is a company that thinks millions of units sold is still a failure. Well, despite all that, I still do like this game. Perhaps I can boil it down to this. I like looking at Human Revolution, but I like playing Mankind Divided. Does that make sense? As a game, Mankind Divided does succeed, but as a part of the Deus Ex franchise, it falters in various ways. Gotta take the good with the bad, I suppose. I've sunk over 40 hours into this, and it looks like I'm gonna be sinking at least 20 more. And that's all for Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Until next time, stay Tor. Avoider out.